Well, it has been 55 days, and the president is working his ass off. Seriously, Mr. President, stop doing so much. You're making George Bush look bad. Joining me now is Joan Walsh, Peter Bonner, and Nancy Pfotenhauer. Is Obama working too hard? Because I've heard that charge leveled against him, that he's trying to do too much.
No, I think we've actually realized that a hardworking president is something valuable. If Now, George W. Bush putting in more hours might have made actually things worse. But I think for Barack Obama, putting in more hours, particularly given the amazingly difficult set of things he's got going on right now, I think he's good.
Okay. Nancy, do you think the stimulus package, is that going to work, or are we just throwing money at a problem?
I think it's a big mistake. I mean, when you look at things like spending $300 million on golf carts or $400 million on beautifying places like the Tidal Basin, which are already pretty beautiful, or $46 billion on 15 programs that have already been determined to be ineffective, I don't think that's going to stimulate the economy. And I do think he's been working hard. I think he's even lost weight, if that was possible, because he looks like he's even thinner. But unfortunately, I believe spending $1.2 trillion in the first 50-plus days is a bad idea. And to give it some perspective, that's like $24 billion a day or $1 billion an hour. Most of it's borrowed.
Joan,
that's not ridiculous.
Come on.
It's not ridiculous. And most of it's borrowed.
It's spent out over years. I mean, that's a ridiculous claim.
No one was as vocal or adamant when the Republicans were spending money like drunk sailors. I didn't see the aversion to it. And I think the problem to me...
That's not true.
Well,
that's not true, because I got a lot of pushback because I stood up and said they were spending like it's a taxpayer-funded party. Sometimes I said the term orgy, and that's not responsible. It is mortgaging our future. It's not good when Republicans do it. It's not good when Democrats do it.
Well, parties are bad, but orgies are something I have to look into. But what do you think, Joan? What do you think?
It was an orgy of bad behavior for 8 years, and poor Barack Obama is working overtime to clean it up, just like we elected him to. Right. We elected him to work hard. Nancy's candidate was the one who said, oh, I'm going to go back to Washington because I can't work on more than one thing at a time trying to block the tarp. And, you know, Barack Obama told us, I'm going to work on a lot of things all at once, right, because that's what the world needs. And so I think he's done an awesome job. I think it's funny we're sitting here. It's like 55 days. We can't give people 100 days anymore. We've sped up.
Well, when you're black, you got to do it faster, damn it. You got to get it done faster.
Come on.
Now, Timothy Geithner, Barack's appointee, is he doing what needs to be done, Joan?
You know, that is where I would be a little bit critical. He, too, has an almost impossible job, DL, but I think he's been slow out of the gate. I think that, you know, a few weeks ago he came out and he said, I have a plan, and he didn't have a plan. I think that shook the markets. I think that the markets want certainty, and they still haven't delivered certainty about what they're going to do with the banks and the toxic assets and all that zombie stuff we get scared about.
Right. Now, I've heard this term a lot, so much in the last couple of weeks. But could anybody please explain to me how Obama is a communist? I don't understand that. I hear it so much.
It's vicious.
Here's the problem. Capitalism works really well when there's effective regulation. It's like a car that has a really fast motor, but you need a steering wheel, brakes, and some traffic lights. What happens is when Democrats and liberals try to impose some regulation, which was what they did 100 years ago under Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, under Franklin Roosevelt, then conservatives actually say it's communism. In fact, what it is, it's saving capitalism from itself, because without the regulation, we run straight into a wall, which is what happened under the Bush administration.
And Nancy, what do you think? Is he a communist?
Well, you know, I've heard communist and socialist thrown around, and they're two different things. So if you want to talk about communism, that's more from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. So it would be more the redistribution of wealth aspect. I mean, I do think his tax the rich thing is punishing prosperity, which is antithetical to the American dream, and completely ignores the fact that the top 5% of the earners in this country, when they do earn about 36% of the income, they pay about 60% of the income tax, and the bottom 40% pay zero. So I'm not sure that's the way he should be going. So that would speak to the redistributionist aspect. Excuse me?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, we just turned into Jerry Springer. Who was going to say?
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Joan, what were you saying? You were about to say something?
Well, I think that we have had a situation we are not punishing the rich. Let's be honest. In this country, we have a game that is rigged. If you're born wealthy, you stay wealthy. It's very hard to climb out of the middle class into wealth. It's still possible. It's a great country. We provide a lot of opportunity. But the rich are finally about to pay their fair share. And Obama, finally, a president, did what he promised to do. He gave a tax cut to 95% of the country. And if you're lucky enough to be in that top 5% who's going to pay a little bit more, well, you're a lucky person to start with, and you should be paying more.
Wow.
No one should be paying more.
And what happens is Republicans always play this game. The Republicans always play this game when they talk about taxes. They start talking about taxes and then they add the word income taxes.
Right.
Because
I'll
income taxes are the most payroll taxes are much more regressive. They fall much more heavily on poor people. So do sales taxes. So Republicans always talk about how income taxes are so weighted against the rich. That is actually the most progressive part of our tax
system.
Let me talk then particularly to payroll taxes. When you include payroll taxes with income taxes, the numbers do drop, but not demonstrably. So, I mean, you can look at, you still see the top earners paying the lion's share of both the income and payroll taxes, and you see the bottom earners. I'm not arguing for anybody to pay more taxes. In a recession, no one's taxes should be raised.
But the amazing thing to me is, I've heard all kinds of plans bandied about, I've heard all kinds of ideas bandied about, but what is happening here is that we did let capitalism run unchecked, and it has brought this country on the brink of devastation. There are no good options. We constantly discuss this, but at least what he's doing seems to be giving people at least some idea that the government is trying to help the individual and not a corporation. And that seems to be the idea that I can grasp onto most. But another question I'd like to ask is, this week Obama is talking about working with the Taliban, and that drew a lot of fire from people. I just don't know how talking to someone who's your enemy hurts you if you're going to find something out. Like, you can reach across and find out what's going on and maybe have some level of dialogue with somebody. How is that horrible?
Well, that's actually what we did in Iraq, The success, and give George W. Bush some credit, the success we've had in Iraq is largely because we turned a lot of these former Saddam loyals, we basically paid them off so they stopped attacking U.S. troops. And that is now the model they're trying in Afghanistan. It may or may not work. Afghanistan's a different place. But it's actually a good idea because we've shown we can't kill all these people, even if we really wanted to.
Well, thanks, Joan, Peter, and Nancy. We appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.